Provo Beast here doing another install today. Today we're doing a Toyota 4Runner. I will post specifically which models this applies to, but this is a non-amplified 4Runner. And today we're putting a double dent in the factory location. Now the first thing we're going to do before we actually go ahead and install the radio and take out the factory one, we're going to go ahead and show you exactly what parts we need for this 4Runner. We picked up this Metro dash kit. This is the 95-8202. We picked up this Crux interface, which I'll post a link in this video for the unboxing. This allows us to retain steering wheel controls and the aux input, as well as provide our main wiring harnesses. We're doing this Pioneer AVH X2700BS. And in addition, just because the Pioneer itself has the USB on the back, we're doing a relocation. This is kind of a cool kit I picked up on Amazon for a few dollars. We'll see how it works. It's basically a dual USB. One goes to the unit, and then the other one we can just tap in power and ground, allowing us to have another charging location. So the first thing we're going to do with this install, we're going to go ahead and pair up colors. This is the Pioneer harness. This is our Crux harness. As you can see here, it has a few bare wires, and it's already pre-stripped, which is nice. And we're going to match those colors up. Now we're going to use a pair of crimpers, and then we're going to use some strippers on this side because this side's already been stripped, which is nice. And to make those connections, some people heat shrink and solder, some people use crimp caps. Today we're using butt connectors. Alright, so all wired together here. What I did is I just matched up colors. Super simple. Use those butt connectors, everything's crimped. This little wire is for an amp that I'll probably add later. I just figured I'd wire it in before I button everything up here. Here's my three main input harnesses. The main input, rear speakers, and steering wheel control / the factory aux. Here's our unit for our Pioneer. So on the left hand side you see where it says on, and there's 3 dip switches. Same on the right hand side. On the left hand side, that's for your type of radio selection, and number 1 down, 2 and 3 up, meaning you can see that, meaning that's a Pioneer / Sony, and that's what we're going to be using. On the right hand side, we don't need to mess with those dip switches just because they are already set for a Toyota. So here we are, everything's wired together. I got my adapter here, female RCA to male 3.5 millimeter. So this will go to the aux input on the back of the radio. Everything's good to go. This plugs in the Pioneer. This is ready for the car, and this will plug into the steering wheel control harness. Any questions on that, I'll be sure to answer those in the comments below. Now next here, I'll show you this USB adapter. Okay, so it's made for a Toyota. Basically, it replaces a Toyota blank. And on the top is for straight charging, which this parallel wire, the red and the black, just go to power and ground. Now feel free to add a fuse to that, just so it's safe. And then the other one, the audio, is the USB one, which will go to the USB port on the back of the radio. So we'll install that. Hopefully it'll look more factory than just trying to have a cable hanging out. So we'll put that in. In addition is our dash kit, which we'll start putting on this radio here. And that's about it. Alright, here we are in the car. Next step here is we're going to remove the factory radio. Now make sure your CDs are out. And ultimately, we're going to get this replaced with our Pioneer. Now, first step here, we need to remove this bezel down below, exposing screws at the bottom of our dash. So, open your jockey box or center console here, and then you just kind of give it a good little pull here.
As you can see, it'll be very gentle.
Just like so. Alright, you can unplug that if you want to. It's not necessary. Now that'll give us enough space to get on the lower part of the bezel.
Probably like this. Give us a little more space.
Okay, so with that unplugged there, it gives us a little more space. Pull this guy on out. Put it out of the way so it doesn't get damaged. Alright. So, the purpose behind this was to allow us to actually expose these lips here. Now, this lip sits up underneath that. Now, the actual radio bezel can move free as we pull that out. Next here, let's move this little pocket. Just kind of give it a tug on both sides. Be gentle, just comes right on out. Now, eventually, you would have a screw there. This one obviously doesn't. Somebody's been back here before. But this allows us to get behind this dash bezel for the HVAC control. Just be gentle. And we can just set those down there for now. Exposing our 2 bolts for our radio. So this outer silver bezel still needs to come out. Now, typically with these 4Runners, there's actually a bolt back behind this that we actually have to get to. All right, here on the driver's side, I removed the 2 10mm bolts at the bottom. Now the rest is held on with clips here. So being gentle, just kind of pop that down. As you can see, now we don't have to take it all the way out. There, right down there, is the screw holding this bezel in. That's the last bolt. It's also 10mm. Go ahead and remove it. Okay, so we pulled out that dash bolt, that 10mm right down below. Now go ahead and remove these 2 bolts, which should free up everything else on the radio. Okay, so those are removed. Just be gentle. What we want to do is just work it out. Okay, there we are. Now, see this dash piece here? You can remove it, but it's always advised because the passenger airbag light is built into it. Don't turn on the car if you disconnect this, only because it'll send a false reading to your dash, and you'll have to get that light cleared by the dealer, and it's expensive. So, some people just kind of turn this sideways, and then slide it through, keeping it still connected. Up to you. You're going to have a harness here for the hazard light, as well as your 2 harnesses for your 4-wheel drive and your back window. Go ahead and unplug those. Okay, so pull that free. I actually kept that plugged in. Alright, at this point I exposes the last 2 10mm bolts on both sides of the radio. Go ahead and pull that out. Make sure your CDs are out. The radio will come free. Okay. So I pull the radio, unplug all those harnesses. They're all keyed differently, so you don't have to worry about which one goes where. Now, before we discard this radio, we need the factory brackets to put on our new radio along with our dash kit so it fits in the factory location. Okay, so we've got the kit on. As you can see, you put the factory bracket, and then the dash kit basically is just siding on this radio. Same thing on both sides. Pulled it off the factory radio, so we're done with this. We'll probably put it away in case we sell the car, so we can put it back in. This is ready to go in the car. Our wiring harness is ready to go. Before we button things up, we'll make sure we add our USB adapter for Toyota. And that should be it. All right, here we are back in the car. I plugged in our harness adapter into the 3. Here we are. That'll go into our Pioneer. Now note, because it is a Pioneer, I do have a micro bypass, so I can post a video for you about how to bypass the parking brake for video playback while in motion. And then this portion, like I said, will go into the aux. And lastly here, this guy will plug into our wired remote for steering wheel controls. Okay, now before we actually put the radio in, it is a Bluetooth unit. It did come with a mic. We're going to run the mic and actually put it up here on the A-pillar and run the wire underneath the seal all the way down, up underneath, and into the dash cavity. I'll kind of show you how to do that. So put the Bluetooth mic right there. And I'm going to start running it down. Just pull back this seal and run it all the way down. Since this under dash is taken apart, just zip tie it along the bracket and then fish it up through the stereo radio cavity. Okay, so the Bluetooth mic's all run. It's all zip tied and nice and clean up underneath. Comes out right here. Put this all apart, super easy to run cabling. So we're about ready to put this all back together. In addition, I put in our USB and audio. Little mod there, pretty cool. One end plugs into the USB port on the radio. The other end taps into power. So the cigarette lighter that sits right in this console is what I use for power and ground. As you can see here, I did put a little fuse and fuse holder in there, 5-amp fuse. Just tap that right into the power there. So that's good to go. Run the USB wire up, out of the dash. Now we're ready just to put in the radio. So we're going to connect all our cabling here and do a little test. Alright, so I went ahead and put in the radio, got everything hooked up. I'm going to get everything put back together and we'll do a final test. Alright, everything's back together here. Dash is all back together, plugged in all the harnesses. You notice I did eventually unplug this, but I plugged it back in before I actually turned on the vehicle itself. Yeah, so just everything in reverse order. Dash kit looks really nice, went in super clean. Let's do a little test here. Put in the key. There we go. There's a boot up. Now as you can see, steering wheel controls. Volume up, volume down, just like that. You can hit the mode button, which will cycle through your inputs here. If you have any questions about this install, be sure to post a comment below. Be sure to get back to you. Appreciate you watching the channel. Grateful for the support. And we'll see you in the next video. Have a good one.